Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by the Hard Truth Distilling Company in Brown County, Indiana.
So for the thousands in attendance and the millions watching around the world, it's time!
Three on the way. Oh! It went in! It went in! And Indiana wins the ball game!
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Full game for the win! Ayla's gone. Come on, touchdown, Indy! Woo! IU America! They got a football team now!
Pretty simple. I win. Google me.
You know that I'm the cream of the crop.
Now, from the Hard Truth Studios, here's Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio, coming to you from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Tuesday. So happy to have you along with us, no matter where or how you're listening. On one of our great radio station affiliates like 97.7 ESPN, the ref, always the right call down in Evansville or up in the region on the voice of the region. 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, WJOB, and in Fort Wayne on Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Keep it locked right here all day long. No reason to go anywhere else. We've got you covered up for the next bit. Dylan Sinn will join us today on the program, as well as Rick Bozich. Indiana wrapped up their West Coast swing last night with a close loss to Oregon in a game in which they battled. They played well and hung tough until the very end of the game, in which the end of the game was where the difference was made. Indiana let Oregon go on a 10-0 run. Meanwhile, Indiana, I think, was 2 of their last 12 on field goals. Not a good combination, but they split. And in my opinion, Indiana comes home with their postseason hopes on the line, as the Ohio State Buckeyes will come to Bloomington for the final regular season game on Saturday, in a game that both teams desperately need to win. Ohio State had been the darling with all these great metrics all season long, but it started to catch up with them, I guess you'd say. Right now, they are one spot. Actually, they are both tied in the Big Ten standings. Indiana and Ohio State now at 9 and 10. Oregon, a spot above Indiana. So the Ohio State game, in essence, is going to be to determine the 9-10 seed, I guess. And the winner will probably play Oregon again, which probably bodes better for Indiana to play them on a neutral court. Played them pretty well on the forest floor last night out in Oregon. So it looks a lot better than it used to, though, let me tell you. Man, I wonder if the Big Ten went to him and said, Phil Knight from Nike, y'all got to do something about this floor because we cannot watch that every night. And they cleaned most of that up, thank goodness. Looking at the Big Ten standings right now, Michigan State still standing alone at the top as they wait to take on. Well, they still have they have 2 games remaining, but their final game is against Michigan. Michigan also with 2 games remaining yet. They probably play tonight. What is the schedule? Let's see. Last night, Wisconsin goes to Michigan State. Michigan State handles Whiskey 71, or was that the day before? Yeah, Michigan, Illinois. That's right. That was the day before. Never mind. Yesterday was UCLA at Northwestern. Is that right? I just flipped the calendar over. That was Monday. This is Wednesday, right? Got to keep my days straight. Purdue handled Rutgers very easily. They hung a century on them, 100-71 last night. Mentioned Oregon beat Indiana. 73-64 was that final score. Ohio State and Nebraska go to 2 overtimes, and Ohio State pulls out the win at home to keep themselves up, snuggled up. They're on the Mendoza line, baby. They're right there. It's going to be interesting to see if maybe both get in. I think it would take a run by, if Ohio State loses that final regular season game to Indiana, then they're going to have to do some business in the Big Ten tournament. Not that Indiana doesn't need to do some business. Jesse says multiple games this season where it was lost at the foul line. Last night there was a discrepancy in free throws. There's no doubt about that. But you got to overcome that. You just have to overcome that. And they could have. Hitting 2 of your final 12 field goals is not going to get that done. And now part of that 10-0 Oregon run, a lot of that was done at the free throw line. So easy math there. But games coming up in the Big Ten. Although, how about that Nebraska 2 overtime thriller? I wonder if that we'll have to look at their situation. Maryland is at Michigan tonight. The Ides of March, right? Cinco de Mayo. Got all kinds of stuff going on. Minnesota, Wisconsin, also tonight. Wisconsin, they've hit a little skid, so they'll be happy to see Minnesota, I'm sure. Also, Washington at USC out on the West Coast. For you late nighters, you want a late game? There you go, 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. You can check that one out. But Michigan State standing alone, they're in great position, in my opinion, to win the league. That final game against Michigan, Purdue's a couple games back, so no one is going to challenge them. Minnesota, I've got to mention this. Minnesota is at 11th place in the conference now. They're behind Ohio State. 2 games behind Indiana. They're ahead of Nebraska, for gosh sakes. Who would have thunk that? Nebraska probably cost themselves a shot at the NCAA tournament last night with that overtime loss at Ohio State. Now they're 17-13. 7-12 in the Big Ten Conference. They're not heading anywhere. Cheryl Sizemore reminded me yesterday that there was something in the paper, the local Bloomington paper, in regards to, I think, your favorite athlete of, trying to get that pulled up, of the week. And, the Herald Times. And one of the names on there was Luke Lindemann. Does that name sound familiar? So, not that I need to be pushing kids against other kids, but go there and have yourself a vote if you're a local. Help a brother out. Looking forward to talking to Dylan about all the things that are coming up here with the Big Ten, in and of itself. Tournaments coming up. Yesterday we had Indiana Football Pro Day. We'll hear from several people, including Curtis Rourke. But more importantly, saw Fernando Mendoza throw. And the man can throw. He has an arm. Saw him throw several deep balls that were just on the money. I'm pretty sure the coaching staff is quite happy with the transition that will take place at quarterback. They're going to go from a very good one to a very good one. I did not get to talk to Fernando, so don't have a take on his personality, whatnot. But one thing about Curtis Rourke, I don't think he has to prove his toughness to NFL scouts. He didn't do anything yesterday because I think he participated. Well, I know he did. He participated in the combine. So he didn't feel he needed to do anything else. Jack Graham asking, where was Galloway in the later portions of the second half? He was on the bench too long. IU has no point guard when he's on the bench. Poor recruiting. Oh, well, this ends soon. Kind of soon. Good question. I don't know. Dusty Banners does not see them losing at home to Ohio State. Yeah. Well, teams are fighting for their lives, so don't yeah, the knee. Well, that's the thing. I'm not sure what all he did. So, hey, we'll take our first break. We get to talk to Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette after this. Plenty to talk about. Jeffersonville beat Scottsburg last night badly, thanks to Tyrone, 82-49. Did the Colts bring in Sam Darnold? Good question. Who might be roaming back there next season? All kinds of questions abound. We've got lots coming up here from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. We'll kick it off with Dylan Sinn on the way back from this break.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at BenDavisChevrolet.com and BenDavisFord.com.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Glad to have you with us and glad to have our good friend Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. How are you, sir?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on, Jim.
Brother, it's always a pleasure. Lots going on. We're getting down to the nitty-gritty, Dylan. The Big Ten race is coming down. It's going to come down to the last game, most likely, with 2 games remaining. But Michigan State play each other in their final game of the Big Ten season. But Indiana, Ohio State, those 2 teams in the Big Ten fighting for their life, for their postseason life. I think that Sunday's game is an in or out for both of these teams. The winner is in, the loser's out. That doesn't mean they're out completely. Opportunities abound in the Big Ten tournament, but this final game of the regular season between these two there's going to be a lot on the line.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's kind of what was set up last night when Indiana lost to Oregon, and then Ohio State beat Nebraska 116-114 in double overtime. What a game that was.
Yeah.
I think that was kind of it. Basically, Ohio State just played an in or out game, right? Like they had to win that one to set up the game against Indiana. And so they won it, and now they have the chance to go on the road and beat Indiana on its senior day and clinch a tournament. I think clinch a tournament berth, and Indiana has the same opportunity here. So, of course, the first game between those teams was really, really good. Indiana, I think, won by 1 in overtime, if I'm remembering correctly. So we're going to see. We're going to see how that goes, because both of those teams are going to be desperate going into that game. And as you said, it is not a total winner you're out, because you still have the Big Ten tournament, but you don't want to go into the Big Ten tournament needing wins, because as we've seen in the last couple of years, the committee weights Big Ten tournament games lesser than regular season games. You need to win more games in the Big Ten tournament to make up for not kind of clinching your spot in the regular season.
Yeah, I would surmise that if Indiana were to lose the Ohio State game, in the game that we're playing here, that would put them 1 game under, so to speak.
Yeah.
But the Big Ten tournament does not allow you to just make that up with 1 game. So winning that first game does not get you out from being 1 under, because you're playing a lower seeded team and you're already a pretty low seed. So then you'd have to win a second game at least, and potentially a third game, because if you'll recall, I think it was, I don't know, 2019, 2020, or maybe it was 2021, that they go into the Big Ten tournament, and I think they beat Michigan and Ohio State, maybe, or maybe it was Illinois. I forget.
Illinois. Yeah.
And we all thought, well, they're in. They're in.
Yeah.
They did get in, but buddy, it was by the hair of their chinny chin chin.
That's right. Yes, because it was they went into that tournament. They went into that Big Ten tournament. It was 18-12. And so they won 2 games. They beat Michigan in the 8-9 game, and then they beat the Illinois, who was the number 1 seed that year, who had won the conference title outright. And they went into that game. The third game they played was against Iowa, and they lost that game on that buzzer beater by Bohannon, if you remember. And everyone assumed, okay, they're in because they won that game against Illinois and they beat Michigan. And they ended up being basically the last team in, was what the committee said. Because they don't want to change the bracket. That's the thing. The committee does not want to change the bracket when they have it set during the conference tournaments. And the Big Ten plays right at the end of the bracket process. So it's one of those things where you really need to make an impression to change your kind of slotting. And so that's why these regular season games are so important. And this game on Saturday, Assembly Hall, is going to be absolutely rocking. It's going to be senior day. You're going to have some of these guys, Anthony Leal, Trey Galloway, Luke Goody's probably going to go through senior day, Umar Ballo. Some of these guys are going to get their just due. And then you're going to go out and see, hey, how much do they have left? What can they put on one more big performance to get Indiana over the top here and see what they can do? I think that's going to be a crazy atmosphere on Saturday.
Yeah, I ironically, way back, I said, okay, my thoughts were Indiana was, I ran the schedule out and said, I think they're going to go 18-13. I think they're going to finish 9-11 in the conference. And they're on course for that. But they're actually in better shape to be 10-10, to be 19-13, to get that last win that I didn't think that they were going to get. I did not think this team was going to make the tournament. I said it, and I'll tell you, I said it. I don't mind. I'm not hiding from anything because it's close anyway. But their destiny is in their hands. You cannot ask for, if it's going to be like this, you cannot ask for a better situation. You're going to be at home. It's senior day. So your guys should be playing for everything, all the marbles on the line. And you would hope that turns out to be the case because Indiana's played pretty well of late, to be honest with you. They played very well against Oregon last night on the road. They played very well against Washington on the road. They won before that. So they're playing pretty well now that they seem to have finally found their roles, but yet then everything does not go as planned last night. Mackenzie Mbako was MIA again in the first half. Of course, he scores 8 points in the second half, but still goes just 2 of 10 on the night. Indiana, however, shot the lights out of the ball. At halftime, I said Indiana has to shoot the 3 ball better. Period. End of story. Well, they come out and do just that. Got themselves in the game, in essence, with that 3-point shooting, although they were having to overcome a pretty good free throw disparity that was talked about by Woodson, brought that up. A lot of the fans brought that up, and it's kind of hard to ignore, Dylan. 3 of 7 for Indiana, 19 of 21 for Oregon. I mean, whoo, that's a lot of points to have to make up. And the 3 extra 3-point shots that Indiana hit that night, those 9 points, not going to do it.
No, and it was one of those things where what Oregon does is play super physical, right? Like I think that's what was bothering Indiana and Mike Woodson the most was, okay, you're going to play super physical, great. You're going to get some free throws, right? Like that's just how it works. That's kind of the what you give up by playing that way, and that they just weren't getting any of those calls. I mean, Trey Galloway, like the decisive possession after Oregon had made that 35-foot 3-pointer to take the lead, Trey Galloway brings the ball up the court, and he gets hacked 2 or 3 times on the way up the court, and that gets the ball stolen from him. And yeah, the ball got stolen from him, but he was also hacked 2 or 3 times leading up to that. So it was one of those things where it was a road whistle. So it was just.
But how do you get that? But how do you get that in conference play?
I know. It's one of those things where it shouldn't happen, but it just does, and it happened. It's not. It wasn't just last night for Indiana. It happens throughout the Big Ten all season for teams home and away, and it's very odd that the conference can't do better. But it's been a years-long situation with this league.
I mean, and there's no way this does not get looked at, because that's when you look at that, the eye, just what you call the eye test.
Yeah,
it jumps off of the page. If I look left and I see 19 of 21 versus 3 of 7, come on, man. I hate talking about officiating of games.
Yeah,
because there's always things you could have done. Indiana went 2 of their final 12 field goals last night. Maybe they were getting fouled all the way. I don't know, and it wasn't getting called, but they had opportunities there. Oregon finishes on a 10-0 run, but a lot of that came at the free throw line. Yeah. So you can't do a lot about that. But yeah, a disparity like that is it's hard to imagine. And it makes you wonder, are these Big Ten officials West Coast Big Ten officials? And it's not a purposeful slight, I don't think ever. I think that sometimes it's just innate.
Yeah.
If it's a home game, I think officials, the noise, they get into it. When you see an official get animated and make a call, I'm like, why are you getting animated? You should be the calmest guy on the floor at all times. It drives me nuts when an official gets animated into his call. I'm like, dude, you're not the show. Now, I haven't seen that a lot lately, but what we do see is officials calling every single stupid, stinking thing. And it's like they either let them play or don't let them play. But a lot of the times you're like, but there's no rhyme or reason. Officiating sometimes drives me nuts. And it's either way, too. It's not for a team. Just and it's a hard job. Don't get me wrong.
Yes.
I couldn't do it.
Yes.
I can tell you right now, I can sit here and tell you, I could not do that job. I could not. But first of all, I'd be turning around and telling people to go enjoy a lunch somewhere. But yeah. But they've got to overcome that. That's past. You got to put that away and come home and take care of business on Saturday when Ohio State comes to town. It's just that simple. And this is a team you've beaten on the road. But they know that their life is on the line. That shows they fought last night. You go to 2 overtimes, you're fighting to get that win. So they come in with that. Both teams tied at 9-10 coming in conference play. Ohio State, though, they need this game worse than Indiana does. Ohio State is not – I don't think Ohio State's in the tournament. Even when they win this game, they still have work to do because their overall record is 17-13, 1 game less than Indiana. They have to beat Indiana and win a game in the Big Ten tournament, if not 2, I think.
The thing is, Ohio State's metrics are really good. Like the advanced metrics, like them a lot because they haven't.
Yeah, but haven't they taken a big hit here of late?
A little bit, but they're still ahead of Indiana and a lot of the advanced stuff. They're still ahead of Indiana in the net. The metrics really like they had a 20-point win over Kentucky in the non-con, and the metrics really like that. I think that's what's propped them up for most of the season has been that win. And so I think that helps them a lot because they do have some blowout losses. They lost to Maryland big. They lost to Auburn big. Like I'm talking 30 points. So it's one of those things where you give yourself opportunities. They gave themselves some opportunities in the non-con, and they took care of one of them. And that's what's kind of kept them high on the metrics list over the course of the season. And of course they beat the mid-major teams on their schedule, the low major teams in their schedule badly. And so that's, of course, a second straight year now Indiana has been dragged down by not beating those teams as thoroughly as they should have early in the season. Now, the tournament selection committee does not weight that quite as highly as the net rankings do. I know the net rankings are a big part of what the committee does, but that's not the be-all, end-all for them. But it does help, right? You would have liked to have won some of those games by 25 instead of 12. You know what I mean? And obviously we know now Indiana has the talent to do that because they went out and beat Purdue by 15. It's one of those things where you should just play better at the beginning of the season. But I do think the selection committee weights late season results a little bit higher. And I think that's why Indiana has kind of climbed up a lot of the bracket kind of projections more recently is because they're playing well at the end of the season. That helps them. But then you got to go out and get this win on Saturday, so you're not going into the Big Ten tournament with 2 straight losses.
And I think they should, Wade, because different from football, you've got a massive amount of games in comparison. I mean, it's 3-1. So you should, the back third, you should be playing your best at that time. Indiana has been. Just hasn't worked out all the time, but they are definitely playing their best. And, well, their best wins have come during this period. Yeah, you talk about the coulda, woulda. Everybody has coulda, woulda, shouldas.
Sure.
Nebraska's going to put last night's game in a coulda, woulda, shoulda deal because they're not going to make the tournament now. And they look like that they were in a while back, but it has certainly changed. But Indiana has the fact that they're in this position, Dylan, I'm shocked. I've got to tell you, there's no way I saw this team making the tournament, and not that they're in yet. Obviously, they have to beat Ohio State and win a Big Ten game. But the sheer fact that they're in this position, I'll give credit to whomever, whether it's Mike Woodson, every member of the team, all of them. What they have themselves in this position that I didn't think was possible. The way they were playing, mostly the way the roster had been constructed, but that all changed once Malik Renew got hurt. It's odd that it took that injury to force Mike Woodson to start changing from the 2 bigs to the 1 big. And ever since then, though, Malik Renew had a good run. Last night was not one of those, but has been playing pretty well up and since then. He gets sick. He comes off of being sick and has that. What do you have? 22 points in
22.
the last game.
Yeah.
And then last night he only manages 8 on 4 of 12 shooting. He was 0 for 3 at the free throw line, which is not good. So Luke Goody, only 6 points. They're not. You have to get 10 between 8 and 12 points from him every game.
Yeah.
Every game he has to put that in. Ballo, a solid night at 10 and 10, but that's only solid if Malik Renew is doing something similar, and he didn't with an 8 and 6 night, pedestrian night. Miles Rice, 4 points. He kept shooting the ball at the end of the game, and I'm like, why are you putting up all those 3-point shots when he ended up going 1 of 5, and I'm like, dude, get this in there. It just showed the lack of an offense. It was very haphazard, and that's part of why Indiana went 2 of their final 12. They weren't getting good shots. They weren't making smart decisions in their shot selections, in my opinion. And so they could have changed the outcome of that game, even with the free throw disparity.
Yeah, I think that's right. With Malik Renew specifically, I think that was a big piece of the game, was that when he got the ball, Oregon was really doubling down hard on him. They were sending 2 guys at him and trying to make life extremely difficult for him around the rim, and he was having trouble passing out of those double teams. That's something that he's done really well recently, is pass out of double teams, give other guys open shots. Luke Goody has been on the receiving end of a lot of those Malik Renew passes to the weak side corner, kind of like Trace Jackson Davis to Miller Kopp back in the day. And that wasn't happening last night. Oregon was making it really difficult for Renew not only to shoot the ball, but to pass out of those double teams. So good for Oregon for being physical and tough and knowing when to bring the double. But Renew just has finding kind of the angles to get rid of the ball there. I think there was a couple times where he tried to force some things. I think that really hurt the offensive flow, where he would get the ball and it would just kind of stop. And I think that's something that needs to be fixed before they play Ohio State. With Miles Rice, he has this thing at the end of games, and sometimes it's worked out. There's been a couple of times this season where it's really worked, but he has this thing at the end of games where it's like, this is my time. It's Miles Rice time. Sometimes
it sure was. I had to look at the shooting, but he got up a lot of his shots in the last part of the game last night, without question.
Yeah,
man. I don't know if I can get there quickly enough, but there's the end of the game. Those are only made shots. Daggone it. I needed the shot chart. Yeah, he got his up. I'm going to get mine, baby. And he did. But that's Indiana starts to fall apart, or not fall apart, but they get away from what works for them and they just start doing whatever they want, kind of a thing. And doesn't work.
No, it doesn't. And what had been working for them was Trey Galloway getting a screen at the top of the key and getting downhill. That had really worked in the second half, to get to the floater game, to get a post feed to Ballo down low. That had really worked, and it didn't really happen in the last minute and a half of that game when they fell behind. Obviously the turnover didn't help, right? But it was one of those things where that had been the most effective offense that Indiana ran, and they didn't get to it in that last minute.
John asking, does Luke Goody have another year? Which would be incredible. It would be his 19th year in college basketball. No, it would be his 6th at least.
It would be his 5th. He is a true senior this year.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay. Well, he is trying to get a medical red shirt, right?
Yes. Okay. His sophomore year at Illinois, he missed
12 games or something.
Yes, he missed about 2/3 of the season with a foot injury, and so it's kind of right. It's like Xavier Johnson was that one year. It's right on the line between whether you get the medical red shirt or you don't, and so you have to petition the NCAA if Luke Goody wants to come back, which we're not sure he does. Maybe he wants to go and be done with college basketball, but if he does want to come back, he has to petition the NCAA and say, I want another year. I think I deserve it because of X, Y, and Z. Here's why the medical register rule applies to me. And then he has to wait to hear from them. So it's one of those things where he has to make a decision and then the NCAA has to make a decision. So we'll see. It's not for sure that he's done at Indiana, but it's not for sure that he's coming back either.
And if I were Luke Goody, I would put on that request. And if you don't grant this, I'm just going to sue you because you lose every time you go to court.
Yeah, it's one of those things where that does seem to be kind of the escape valve at this point, is making sure the NCAA knows there is a lawsuit threat on the back end of this. So they have been granting more waivers in recent years, I think in part because of that. So again, it does seem more likely that it's just a question of whether Luke wants to come back. But that is the process that we'll have to go through, and we'll have to wait a little bit to see.
Absolutely. Hey, we've got lots more coming up on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, joined by our good friend Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. We're back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on the backside of this break. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com.
At Ben Davis Chevrolet and Ben Davis Ford in Auburn, we're your one-stop shop for all of your automotive needs. We have the area's best selection of over 300 vehicles, including new cars, trucks, vans, and SUVs. Plus a huge selection of pre-owned vehicles in stock. And if we don't have what you're looking for, we'll find it for you. We also have top-of-the-line service and parts, plus a collision repair center, and we're competitively priced on everything. For sales, service, collision, parts, and more, we do it all. Come see us today or visit us online at bendavischevrolet.com and bendavisford.com.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along for the ride. Jim Coyle with you as always, joined as we are always on Wednesdays by our good friend Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Make sure you're giving Dylan a follow and be a subscriber if you're a Fort Wayne area listener. Listening on 1380 The Fan up there. Hope all is well. Ready for some not winter weather, Dylan.
No, there was a couple days earlier this week and even yesterday where it was pretty nice. You could kind of feel spring creeping in just a little bit. It was like 55 degrees out. You go outside without a jacket for the first time in a long while here. So we're getting there. You can feel March coming into being here just a little bit.
Well, I'll tell you, I looked down here at the forecast, and Tuesday I see 74. That's going to be like a celebration day, man.
Wow.
I'm just going to celebrate just because. March Madness is upon us. Warm weather is upon us. The time change is upon us. It is a wonderful time to be alive. Indiana, Purdue, everybody fighting for slots in the NCAA tournament coming up. Where they're going to be slotted, the Big Ten tournament starts in, I guess, next week, huh?
Yeah, the Wednesday of next week.
That's crazy. It's crazy that we're that close. I mean, the season ends Sunday for everybody, and then bam, a couple days later in Indianapolis, it all gets underway. And there's some teams that's got to do some work. Will there be any surprise teams? I can't imagine that, but you never know. I
can see Illinois making a run.
Well, they're not a surprise to me because they're
I think they're going to be like the 6th seed in the Big Ten tournament, 5th or 6th or 7th or something like that. But they would not surprise me to make a run to the end. But again, it's the 6th seed, so how surprising is that? But they had a tough stretch during the middle of the season. But they're so talented. I like right now they're projected as an 8 or a 9 seed in most brackets. I would not want to be the 1 seed that has to play them in the second round if that is indeed what happens.
Well, in the Big Ten will get only 9 teams in. If it gets those in, there's no guarantee they get 9 in. That's if Indiana makes it in. Ohio State has work to do for them to overcome Indiana, I think. But John thinks Illinois could go to the Final Four or lose in the first round. I'm not sure that they're Final Four talented, but I mean, I like Bozich and Yakashonis. They lost, what's that? Their forward, Morez Johnson.
Yeah.
Lost him for the season. But the fact that they were able to go to Michigan and do what they did to the Wolverines, man, they hung it on them.
Yeah, they really they played so well in that game. Their offense was just really, really efficient in that game. And now they get Purdue at home in the regular season finale on Friday. That's a really fascinating game to me because those teams have not played this season. So you're playing a team for the first time in the last game of the regular season. That's kind of the new reality of the Big Ten where you play most teams only once. And so I think Illinois is the type of team that can give Purdue a little bit of trouble. You can out-athlete Purdue a little bit. That's kind of what Indiana did to some extent. And if you can bother Braden Smith and find a way to get him off of his game, you can bother Purdue. And so I'm interested to see how Illinois goes about trying to do that. And I think they might be able to. But Purdue, coming off a terrific game last night against Rutgers, one of the best games they've played all season, they're playing with some confidence right now. And if they are motivated going into that Illinois game, because if they win, they lock up a double bye in the Big Ten tournament. So that game, Purdue at Illinois on Friday, is a really fun one to kind of consider here.
The little brief bit of note from Fred. Kevin Boyle, Montverde's head basketball coach, and he's been there for a while, won several national championships, apparently leaving for Spire Academy in Ohio, per ESPN. First of all, I've never heard of Spire Academy in Ohio. And the fact that they must have some money to draw him out of warm Orlando, Florida area, because I know he's doing well down there. And wow, to make a change like that, that's something. Of course, Trent Sisley finishing up his senior year at Montverde right now, and it has made a world of difference, in my opinion, for Trent Sisley, Dylan. His game has really improved all the way around.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. He is one of those guys who does everything well on the basketball court. He does everything you could want him to do. I think that's really, he's been able to show that at Montverde, because when he was at Heritage Hills, it was one of those things where he was the scorer. He was the guy you turn to get a bucket, right? At Montverde, he doesn't have to be that guy. He can be the facilitator. He can be the rebounder. He can be the secondary scorer. And I think that is one of those things that he really excels at, is being a secondary guy who, if the focus is off of him, he is really going to hurt you. And I think that is probably going to be his role at Indiana next season, is going to be a secondary guy coming off the bench, who comes in and can really get you a bucket, because he's not the first line in the scouting report. And I think that's going to be one of those things where his experience at Montverde is going to really help him be ready for college, because you are playing on a team full of super talented guys, and you have to find a role. I think that's what he's going to have to do next year. Now, I continue to believe he is going to be a very, very, very good college player, and at some point will be a star at Indiana. He will be a main scorer at Indiana at some point. Probably
he's
not
going
next
to be
year.
a major cog. I've said it over and over. He's going to be a part of Indiana getting back to being Indiana.
Yeah,
in my opinion, I think
that's exactly right. And maybe it's not next season. Maybe he's not a key cog next season. He's kind of a bench scorer next year. But maybe the year after that, I think he could really be a guy who helps Indiana. And I think his experience kind of being the main guy and being more of a fill in the blanks guy at Montverde really helps him. And I think that's why I think it made sense for him to transfer there this season.
Absolutely. Why wouldn't you? I mean, Kevin Boyle, who is going to Spire Academy in Ohio at season's end, which will come probably at the conclusion of the Chipotle High School Nationals taking place here in Indiana, which Indiana fans should have an opportunity to go see Trent Sisley play. But boy, he has won Kevin Boyle has won 8 of the past 12 national championships. 8 of the past 12, people. That's but he's coached more number 1 NBA draft picks than most college coaches. He has 3 former NBA draft picks, including Cooper Flagg, who will be the number 1 pick this year. So that'll give him 4. But he says the move was necessary in light of seismic changes underway in high school and college basketball worlds over the past few years. Since 2021, players across the sport have been permitted to receive financial compensation by profiting from their name, image, likeness, transforming blah, 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 blah. I don't understand how that affects him. Yeah. But, I mean, but who cares? That's the news. You know, he was a New Jersey guy, He's like one of those Hurleys, man.
Yeah.
There's some good ball in Jersey.
There absolutely is. Yeah, I mean, Mackenzie Mbako's from there originally. So
I did not know that.
Yeah, so he's from up there in Jersey and went down to Montverde to play. So it's one of those things that maybe that was the connection there that ended up getting him down to Montverde. So it's one of those things where you got to do what you got to do for your own career. In terms of Kevin Boyle there, I do wonder if him being closer to Indiana helps. Obviously, he's built a relationship with Indiana over the last couple of years here. I don't know if that will survive post Mike Woodson leaving, but I wouldn't be surprised.
I don't know how much of a relationship there really is. I mean, when you see Liam McNeely change and when you see Derek Queen go otherwise, but absolutely, it'll be important for the next coach, definitely, to especially with being in the proximity of so close. But speaking of, give me some names of guys that you're thinking about as the next coach.
Yeah, I mean, I still am on one of 2 guys right now. For me, it's until they say no, it's going to be Mick Cronin and TJ Otzelberger. You can sell me on either one being the better choice. I would personally prefer Otzelberger because he's younger. He's done more recently, although Mick Cronin did go to the Final Four in 2021. Otzelberger, to me, checks a lot of the boxes where it's a guy who's had a ton of recent success. He's young enough where he can be around for a while. And he has a contract at Iowa State where the buyout is not very big. It's only about $4 million. And Iowa State does not have the money to match Indiana financially. So Indiana can bowl him over with an offer, right? I don't think that's really the case with a lot of the other coaches that people are throwing out here. So I think that Otzelberger checks a lot of those boxes. I think Mick Cronin, to me, continues to check a lot of boxes as a guy who's been to, this will be his 14th tournament in 16 years, I believe, or 13th and 15, one of those 2. And he's been to a Final Four. He's been at a blue blood, so he knows the kind of the pressure that is. But Indiana has a better NIL setup than UCLA does. So either one of those guys, until they say no, I think it's one of those 2 guys, and then everyone else is kind of secondary to me.
And it doesn't, I'll tell you this, it doesn't matter what name you throw out, what you'll get is a lot of this. And you can erase Cronin's name and put in whatever name you want right there. Yeah. There's going to be a whole lot of that because people just everybody dislikes somebody that is in the process, and it's going to be one of these people. It's going to be either TJ Otzelberger or Mick Cronin or Ben McCollum or Greg McDermott. It's going to be somebody, people.
Yeah.
So and let me tell you who it's not going to be. It is not going to be Brad Stevens. It is not going to be Dusty May. And it is not going to be Chris Beard. So get used to one of these other names that is being talked about.
And I will say, here's what I will say. With Otzelberger, I think you're going to get a lot less of that. I think Otzelberger is the best chance Indiana has to really kind of unite the fan base. I think I would say is that he would have the best opportunity to really have like a high approval rating at the beginning of his tenure, if that makes sense. We have to have a talk with a lot of these people because Mick Cronin, I don't understand the hate for Mick Cronin. I really don't. The man makes the tournament basically every year. He's been to a Final Four. Is it his personality? Is that really like? Is that what it is? Is he just people don't like that he's a little bit prickly? Because I have some news for you about a guy who used to coach Indiana who was a little bit prickly.
He was a lot big prickly.
I think it's one of those things where I don't understand why people are so immediately no way on a guy who's been to a Final Four and currently coaches a blue blood and has done a pretty good job there. It is one of those things where I think that he would do well and people would really get on board after like a year.
Yeah, we'll see. A lot of no's to Cronin, but
I know. Yeah, I've seen that online too, and it's one of those things where I understand why, but at the same time, the resume is what the resume is at a certain point.
I don't understand why, because if Indiana fans want to win as badly as they portray themselves of wanting to win,
yeah,
why would you turn your nose up to a winner?
Yeah.
What is it? Everybody says no, but they're not saying why.
Yeah.
Give me reasons why. I want to know why you don't want Mick Cronin. I'm not saying you should, but tell me why. You can't just say no. You can't just say, oh, that's a no-go.
There seems to be this perception out there that he's a little bit of a complainer. And I think that is a little bit missing.
He aided to that this season.
Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
About travel, complaining about his players.
Yes. I do think, however, to a certain extent, like coaches complain about their players. I think we've forgotten this. Coaches complain about their players sometimes. This is just a thing that happens. It's a thing that you need. There are coaches that decide, the players need a kick right now, and I'm going to give it to them in this press conference, right? Like that's a thing that happens. And so he complained a lot last year about NIL, but he wasn't complaining about NIL as a concept. He was complaining about UCLA's lack of NIL. I don't think that'd be a problem in Indiana. I don't think he'd have to do that. I think Indiana's pretty well set up for that. So that's my thing is I think a lot of the complaints that he has boil down to, I'm at UCLA. I didn't expect to be in the Big Ten. What's happening here? And I think that a lot of that would be solved by coming back to Indiana, where he spent most of his life in the Midwest. He was at Cincinnati for 15 years?
Oh, absolutely.
And so I think that a lot of that would really help him to get back to the Midwest too. So that is my assumption is people don't like some of the complaining, but I think there is a rhyme or reason to a lot of what he says.
We shall see. Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. If you've got time to stick around for one more segment, we can do it. But if you have to go, I understand. We've got to hit a break.
I do unfortunately have to go. I'm actually buying a car this morning, so I will see you in my new car on Saturday.
Zip, zip. Oh, well, you know what? I hope you went to Ben Davis Ford Chevrolet there. We could have helped you out had I known. One of our great sponsors there in Fort Wayne, Ben Davis Ford Chevrolet, the place to go when you need an automobile. Hey, we've got more coming up thanks to Dylan Sinn from the Fort Wayne Journal-Gazette. Back with more on the backside from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum, Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemoreSells@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday. Glad to have you along for the ride. Appreciate you being with us no matter where or how you're listening. Looking forward to talking it up with Rick Bozich here in a little bit. Yeah, that's a surprise. Kevin Boyle leaving Montverde. I did not think that would happen. It's just the campus at Montverde. I've been down there several times. It's beautiful. It's in Florida. Did I mention it's in Florida? Just, but you know, we see it all the time. Pretty certain he's getting paid well. I saw that the tuition is roughly $60-something thousand a year at Spire Academy. Yeah, that's more than what it is at Montverde a little bit. So that's more than a lot of people pay to go to college. But always a surprise. I'm surprised that he hasn't made the move to college. He has that Rick Pitino-esque energy, both from the Northeast. You know, he's a Jersey dude. So, but I guess, you know, he likes his niche in at the high school game because he's always dealing with the top talent. It's a lot more fun, I guess, when you have those kind of players every year. I mean, my God, look at his lineup from last year. I can't even remember everybody that was on that team, but Cooper Flagg, Derek Queen, Liam McNeely, Asa Newell. They had 2 others that were their top 6 players. But that'll be changing now. I wonder, boy, I bet the Montverde community is just kind of devastated. They love their basketball. And but he's not leaving until the end of the season. You should be able to watch Montverde and Trent Sisley play in the Chipotle Nationals here in the Indianapolis area. That should be in April, I believe, is when that is. But Indiana, and let's see. Oh, yeah, yesterday, Indiana football pro day. An opportunity for outgoing seniors to that weren't invited to the combine to show their wares. Oh, Nick Toomer. Defensive back Nick Toomer. 40-inch vertical. That's some hops. That's some hops. Then somebody had a 39-inch vertical, and I'm trying to remember who that was because they were much shorter. So that's a serious jump. I mentioned earlier that I saw Fernando Mendoza throw the ball because Curtis Rourke was not ready to throw the ball. Fernando handled the throwing. He's got a cannon. Yeah, he threw a lot of really nice looking deep balls. And I mean, I think you're going to enjoy Indiana football next year more than you did last year, if that's possible. I don't know. Maybe that'd be crazy. Because last year was the first time, and there's no first time again like that. Although you could have a better season. I think they're going to have a better team, to be honest with you. I can't, guarantee a better season because their schedule's a little bit tougher. To me, it's a lot tougher. You have 3 road games at Iowa, Oregon, and Penn State. You open up Big Ten play with Illinois. But they have jacked up the offensive line. You've got a lot of guys that are coming back. And I just think that it is going to be a fun year for Indiana football fans. And speaking of which, let's hear a little bit from Curtis Rourke from yesterday.
That's kind of the beginning of all this. We're pro day today, but your experience has already started with the NFL Combine.
Yeah, it was really awesome. Just being around, the best of the best, and being able to meet a bunch of teams and kind of go through that process and that interview process. And, even though I wasn't able to physically do anything, it was one of the more valuable experiences, and just happy I was able to go.
How was it being back here with the guys?
It's been great. It's been great. Really, when we had a meeting yesterday about with everyone that was going to be at Pro Day, just seeing the guys again, and everyone's in great shape, and just excited, to watch them run and watch them show out, and I'm looking forward to playing them in preseason. So.
What was kind of a theme, I guess, in the interviews you had? What did you try to convey to teams, and what did they want to ask about you?
Yeah, it was a lot of, questions about my knee and questions about how the story behind that. And, a lot about just, my learning style, how I play. And there's a lot about the season, because it was something that, it put Indiana on a map, the way the team played and the season went. And so, I was just trying to convey that, I'm just grateful to be a part of such a great team, and that, it's gonna help prepare me for, the next level, and just this 1 year has developed me a ton. And so just trying to convey that I'm eager to learn and ready to learn, and that I've learned a lot from the last couple of years.
Curtis, you look like the ultimate hype guy out here today. How important was it for you to be out here supporting your guys?
It was awesome. Yeah, I love all these guys. We've been in these journeys for over a year now, and so just being able to be there for those guys and hype them up and make sure that I get the most out of all of them. I just like to see them succeed, and just being able to watch them has been awesome. And I'm glad I can be that hype man. So.
Kurt, you mentioned your knee, and the NFL, part of that is being tough. And obviously with your thumb situation that we all know about, and then the knee, how in the world were you able to play on a torn ACL like you did? I don't know how that's even possible.
Yeah, I didn't really know it was torn, right? And that's the story. And so, they were telling me that I could play on it, and so that's all I kind of needed. Thankfully, I stayed in the pocket a lot more this year than other years, and so that helped a bunch. But just with the thumb and the knee, it just definitely some uncomfortability, and it wasn't fully healthy. But I just wanted to be out there, play and continue the season. So.
But was that a talking point with some of the NFL guys showing your toughness and doing that?
Absolutely. I like to. Explain the stories and say them truthfully, but also in a way to show that, I played, only missed one game, and I tore an ACL and a broken thumb. And so it's definitely it was a talking point for sure, because a lot of them didn't really understand or know, like myself and yourself, that you could even play with those injuries. But, it's a fun story to tell. So
if you could reflect on where you were at last spring,
that's Curtis Rourke. And how about that? Playing on a torn ACL, broken thumb, ripped off thumbnail, surgery on the thumb. He missed 6 quarters. Yeah, that's toughness, and that will go a long way in the NFL. Although there was also a camera crew there yesterday from Canada, because obviously Curtis Rourke is a Canadian Canuck, and interested in the potential of him following his brother into the CFL. His brother is a quarterback currently in the CFL. God, I forget who he plays for, but yeah, that would be something. But good guy, just a super good guy. He's going to succeed. You can just tell his mental outlook, his mindset is just that that is of a winner. Coolio says that the good news is in regards to Montverde that you won't have to hear me mispronounce it again. Is it Montverde? I can't remember. I think it's Montverde. Yeah, Montverde. Put that tilde on the end of it for some reason. I don't know. Montverde. How about that? A little feng shui, a little French. Add a little French to it. Philip asking, what is considered a successful season for Cignetti next season? Well, what is a successful season for Indiana is what you should ask. I don't think fans should go jumping off of the deep end because you had a great season last year, and if they don't go 11-1 again, that it's this big fall off. I think 9-3 is very attainable. I think 9-3 should be the mark that they shoot for. I think that 9-3 is acceptable. And I hate to use the words acceptable. I really do. But looking at the schedule, if they win their home games, win all the games they should win. The 3 toughest games are all on the road at Penn State, at Iowa, at Oregon. 9-3 is very doable. I think that I'd like to see them win one of those road games, though. I'd like to see them answer the call on not just winning the games they're supposed to win and getting up to 10-2. Now, is that asking for the sky for an Indiana football program? Truth be told, probably. But this is not your granddad's football program, IU football program. That's funny. Stephen Ryan just said the refs just called another foul in Indiana up in out in Oregon. So that's my take. I think that 8-4. How many times would Indiana football fans have taken an 8-4 mark and been happy as a lark? So if that were to happen next year, yes, I think that would be a slight step down. But it's 8-4, people. It's still 8-4. I think they go 9-3 and potentially 10-2. We'll have to see. We shall have to see. Hey, we're going to take another break. Get to the captain, Sir Rick Bozich from WDRB.com. Get his thoughts on all that is going on, which is plenty. Appreciate you guys being with us. Back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after these messages.
Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue, and you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Maria in Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Maria Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information. When it comes to apparel and promotions, Freethink has you covered, literally, whether it's 24 or 200 shirts for sports leagues, businesses, or groups. Freethink Apparel and Promotions can also create your very own merchandising store. Freethink Apparel and Promotions did it for Indiana Sports Beat Radio, and they can do it for you. Whether it's screen printing, embroidery, digital printing, promotional products, vehicle wraps, or anything else under the promotional line. See what Freethink Apparel and Promotions can do for you at freethinkapparel.com. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road rye, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Wednesday, and you know what that means. Our good friend Rick Bozich from WDRB.com joins us. How are you, sir?
I'm good, Jim. How are you doing?
Cannot complain. I know you saw this, but Kevin Boyle leaving Montverde Academy in Florida to go to Spire Academy in Ohio. And I think that, which was a surprise, but I think that this was spurred by, believe it or not, NIL, even at that level, because I don't think that they have anything set up at Montverde right now. And that is apparently a sticking point.
Yeah. He's had plenty of success at Montverde, and before that in New Jersey. I think he coached high school ball in New Jersey. He's one of the best high school coaches in the country. His track record of developing guys who've gone on to be college stars and NBA players is very strong.
Yeah,
and
he's got more NBA first-round draft picks than most college coaches. He's about to add his fourth with Cooper Flagg.
To leave Orlando to go live outside, I guess that's outside of Cleveland somewhere.
Yeah, boy.
Good luck with that.
That's like Dusty May going from Florida Atlantic to
Ann Arbor.
Boca Raton to Ann Arbor. Beautiful in the summertime, but you can keep those winters, baby. You can keep those winters.
Yeah, I mean, it's apparently high school players now are going to make as good of money as some college players.
In certain places, no doubt. Your latest piece at WDRB.com. I wish I could play the music of little Marvin Gaye. What's going on? What's going on? Because that's the title of it. Drew Beard, Otzelberger, Cronin, Mystery Coach. What's going on in Indiana? Good question. It's gotten quiet, which no surprise because there's not a lot that can happen other than some behind the scenes back channeling and chirping and things of that nature. But I think Scott Dolson in Indiana, Scott is working hard to keep that information contained. And you know what? I saw Jeremy Gray at the baseball game yesterday, and I told him, you know what? I'm fine with that. I'm not that guy who just has to know this second, because you know what? When it happens, you're going to know. It'll be there. But it is a mystery because there are a lot of names that are still out there that are doable. Chris Beard is not one of those, in my opinion.
I don't know if Scott Drew is or not, but I would say that TJ Otzelberger, Mick Cronin, maybe the two top names.
Yeah, I mean, that popped up this week on Trilly Donovan. I don't know if you go on Trilly Donovan or not, but he had his IU coaching hot board 1.0, and he had Scott Drew and TJ Otzelberger on the first tier. And then I think on the second tier, it was McDermott, McCollum, and I don't remember the third one. But
so he doesn't think that Mick Cronin has much of a shot.
Cronin must have been on the second tier. The thing that there's the things about Cronin that I think make me hesitate is if he really wanted the job, I'm surprised that Patino would go to bat for Beard and not him, because he's a Patino guy. And secondly, the buyout's a problem. I mean, the buyout, from what I've been told, is at least $10 million. Some people think that's a lot of money, some people don't, but I think it is a lot of money for a coach who's a very good coach, but he's not like he's won a national championship or, done extraordinary things. He's been very good, and sometimes I think we read too much into things. I think Mick Cronin has been signaling this year that he's not thrilled at UCLA. As many times as he's complained about stuff going on there, I mean, to keep doing it publicly, I'm sure his athletic director is not real thrilled about that. And I know that I probably talked about this last week, but the Daily Bruin and Bill Platchkey of the LA Times have both taken shots at him, saying, you're going to keep complaining like this, you better go to the Final Four or something, because your record isn't that dazzling that you can be griping like this.
I understand. I don't know if he's using that to try to get out of LA. Maybe he's trying to work out a deal where they reduce his buyout to get rid of him. I'm not sure. I doubt that they would do that, but he probably has the biggest issue with the buyout of anybody that we're talking about, because
right.
Scott Drew's is like $4.5 million. Otzelberger's is $4 million. Everybody else is under that, I think.
I mean, the Otzelberger thing, though, is strange too. I mean, Iowa State agreed to give him more money and reduce his buyout. I mean, why would you do that? I mean, usually one side gives something and the other side gets something. And if you're going to give a guy a contract extension and more money, why would you take his buyout down from $18 million to $4 million? That's strange.
Yeah, I don't know. I wonder if Indiana has coaching attire in his size. For those of you that does not pay attention, TJ likes to wear mediums.
Yeah, he's double X and he likes to wear medium. Yeah, you're right. He likes to show that he does spend time in the weight room.
Kind of funny, but nobody cares if you win, right?
No, they don't. I wonder if Buzz Williams gained some juice yesterday by beating Auburn, buddy.
Oh yeah, big time upset. Not, that stuff's going to happen, but that's a huge win this time of year, especially.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I got buzzed down in the second or third tier. I've talked to one agent. I've talked to some TV people who I trust, TV basketball analysts. I've talked to some current head coaches and assistant coaches, people who are familiar with IU, and nobody really knows. I mean, people, no matter what name you throw out there, they'll give you a reason they might come, but then they'll quickly give you a reason they might not come. And I've had a couple people telling me that, there could be a coach somewhere that we're not thinking of that is kind of restless at the place he's at, that like to maybe not get along with his AD real great, like to go somewhere else and try something, and has the ego to say, I'm the one who's going to succeed there after all these other coaches haven't succeeded. And Indiana's going to pay me a lot of money. They're going to have a lot of money in NIL. They got fan support. They got tradition. They got a good recruiting area, and I'm going to go in there and kick butt. So who that is, I can't identify it, but I had two different people have told me that it could be somebody nobody's even talking about.
Yeah. Are we talking about somebody from the college ranks or outside of college basketball?
Yeah. I mean, just to throw, somebody like,
Tommy Lloyd,
Greg Gard.
Dude, Greg Gard would be about as good a hire as you could make. He is, if not the best, he's one of the best coaches in the Big Ten right now, one of the best in the country. He's just solid. The way he's winning this year, incredible. It shows how good of a coach he is to make the adjustments that he's made. The personnel that he lost, we had to bring in and change, and yet still wins. We've talked about it. How we used to watch Wisconsin. It was like watching paint dry. Well, now they get after it, and it's fun basketball. So, and he wins. So, don't know if he would be interested in leaving. I don't even know what his contract situation is. He's not someone that I've looked up. But
I don't know.
He would be a hell of a get.
Yeah, and I don't know if he'd move that. A lot of coaches are uncomfortable moving within the same conference, but it's a different world now, and people who do all kind of crazy things. I mean, Gard's done a terrific job when you consider that last summer people counted Wisconsin down and out. They lost A.J. Storr at Kansas, and they lost Chucky Hepburn to Louisville, and they lost Connor Esigian to Nebraska, and people thought that they wouldn't be very good. Well, he's kind of shocked the world. Just somebody, Dennis Gates of Missouri. I mean, you could pick 4 or 5 names of somebody who might be kind of considered off the wall.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would not be shocked by that because of the quietness, because of how Scott is seemingly able to do his job right now without interruption. And I'm glad for that for him. Like I said, without all the noise and everything getting out, let it just happen. I'm good with that.
The hard part right now is, I mean, as in any negotiation, you need to feel out which guys, or have the search firm feel out which guys are legitimately interested in not just using you to get a better deal where they're at. And I don't know how you do that. Hopefully a search firm that's experienced and been through this before, that's one of the main qualities that they have, to sort out the pretenders from the real contenders. And at the same time, they're doing their background checks on all these guys to make sure there's nothing that would pop up after they're hired to embarrass, IU or the coach. But at this point, I think the main job is that I'm sure that Dolson says, this is what we're looking for, coach who's done this, this, and this, whether he would say, these are guys we're possibly interested in. And then the search firm talks to the agents and or the coaches and has to ascertain, this guy really will listen to you, or I think he's just playing you. Because the worst thing, well, not the worst thing, but what you don't want to have happen is get turned down by your first 2 or 3 targets. That happens frequently. I mean, heck, Mick Cronin was the 4th or 5th pick at UCLA. Mark Pope was the 3rd pick at Kentucky. Pat Kelsey was the 3rd pick at Louisville. It does happen, but I think you want to avoid that if you can.
Especially avoid it being known. If you can get away with that being under the radar, everything's great, because it's an optics thing. Because then some coaches seem like they may get the upper hand. So, but yeah, is there somebody that for you stands out and said, I think this would be the best selection, but it's not because of any allegiance or anything like that. Just they check a box and a half more than somebody else.
I mean, I'm going to say 2 names that are already out of it: Dusty May and Brad Stevens. Those are the 2.
That doesn't count.
Grand Slam, huh?
It doesn't count.
Yeah, no, they don't count. Those are the ones. Those are the 2 that I think would, excite the biggest number of people and have track records.
Yeah. But have you noticed since Dusty signed that fat new extension that
they've gone south?
Have they won a game yet since he signed that?
Maybe 1. I don't know. I mean, they've lost.
Maybe. I know they lost the first 2.
Yeah. Then they got 2. I think they might play again today and again on the weekend. They got 2 more games this week. So, and they got to go to Michigan State over the weekend. Among other guys, it would be Drew. I mean, it would be Drew. I mean, he's won a national championship. He's won at a high level at Baylor. He's recruits at the top level of the game. He's very successful in the transfer portal. They play an interesting style of basketball. I mean, Drew would be the top guy right now. As we've said a million times, would he be willing to walk away from the program he built from the rubble to come to Indiana and start over? And A year ago, he wasn't interested in Louisville or Kentucky.
I don't want to get off the subject, but this is a great question. Pat Kelsey or Rick Pitino, Coach of the Year?
You could argue for either one. There isn't a wrong answer.
I would have to go with Rick Pitino personally.
I think it will be Rick Pitino because of the fact that they've won the Big East easily.
First time in 40-something years for St. John's?
I don't know if it's been quite that long, but it's been at least since, before before Y2K. And, he's got a good team. He doesn't have a great offensive team. They just win with defense. And the magnetism of Pitino's personality and being in New York City in the Big East, I think he'll win it. But if you voted for Kelsey, that's certainly justifiable. Kelsey, I think, will be the Coach of the Year in the ACC, and he should be.
Absolutely. Well, that kind of leads into my next question. Why isn't Brad Brownell getting more attention than it seems to be? I mean, he's got Indiana ties, a former high school teammate of Calbert Chaney. He is doing very well at Clemson. They're second behind only Duke in the ACC right now. I think they've only 24-5. That's a pretty damn good season.
He's had a great season, and they're the only team to beat Duke in the ACC, and they went to the Elite Eight last year. I mean, the reason is because I think over his career, he's only won like 3 or 4 NCAA tournament games in 13 seasons at Clemson, not very many.
But Elite Eight last season, though, at least.
Yeah. I think Brad Brownell is a very solid sleeper pick. He's very experienced. He can handle the job of being the head coach. He's from Indiana, so he understands what the job is all about. His team does shoot threes. They're shooting 38% from 3 this year, 14th in the country. They're ranking the top 25 in offensive and defensive efficiency. He'd be a solid choice. People balk at him because he has been on the hot seat several times at Clemson and he escaped. But his last 2 or 3 years have been his best years at Clemson. And, if he has a nice run in March, I think his name will become a little sexier. So they should win the next 2. They got at Boston College tonight and Virginia Tech at home. So they'll finish 26-5, 18-2 in the ACC.
I think he has to be higher up than people think as far as on that list.
People judge him by, his record, I guess, in 2019 or 2020.
Give him Indiana's resources, and how does all of that change, I wonder?
I agree. I know coaches who've gone against him who think he's a really good basketball coach. And I've been around him at ACC Media Day and press conferences. He handles himself very well in front of the media. I think he could do the job.
Absolutely. So we're still not going to hear anything for a couple of weeks. I mean, we have the conference tournament starting in about 6 days, I guess, next week in Tuesday or Wednesday in Indianapolis for the Big Ten, and everything else going as well. And then the NCAA tournament starts. So we're looking at 3 weeks probably at least from hearing anything. I would surprise.
Yeah, I mean, next week's conference tournament week, then the next week there'll be the second day in Dayton 2 weeks from today. We're going to have 48 teams will be eliminated that first week. So if the top target is one of those coaches that's among the 48 eliminated, they can make the move the following week. But if he's in the Sweet 16, you'll have to wait another week. And if he's in the Final Four, they're probably not going to get him anyway because he's going to stay where he's at. So I would say we should know something, I don't know, 3 to 4 weeks.
Without question. Other than that, because the season will be over after that. So, and then you've got guys hitting the portal and trying to keep guys in, trying to keep whether or not Luke Goody gets another year. The next coach could come in with 3 players in place in Trent Sisley. If Zerno stays, which I think he is at the moment, and if Luke Goody were to get an extra year, I don't think that he would transfer elsewhere unless it was suggested for him.
You think everybody else is going to leave? Cups and Newton and Renew and Mbako and all of them?
Mbako's a question mark now because he has been so inconsistent.
Right.
You know, Todd talks about his talent being just really, really good. And you can see that, but it's not his talent. It's between the ears that makes you
focus. Yeah.
Questioned.
The thing that I think he needs to improve on defense for sure. We've said that for 2 full seasons. But secondly,
he couldn't guard you and me.
There seems to be too many possessions when he gets the ball and he predetermines that he's going to shoot the ball. Whether it's a good shot, whether he's covered, whether he's open, whether somebody else has a better shot, he is going to take a shot. He takes a lot of contested and tough shots. Sometimes he makes them and he looks great, but sometimes he doesn't, and the offense kind of falls apart. So I don't know. I thought he'd be a better player by now, but he's improved some, but he's not. I mean, he's not like a top. If you pick the top 4 or 5 Big Ten, group of 5 guys, he wouldn't be in the top 4 or 5 teams in all Big Ten teams.
It doesn't seem like he can find his. I don't want to use the word role, but his spot in the role as a role
comfort zone. Yeah, he can't find his comfort zone of like, what am I most effective doing? How can I do that more?
And how can I help the team be better in that?
Right. And what should I do less? I need to quit taking as many contested shots as I take. I need to quit taking 17 footers because those are the worst percentage shots in basketball. The long twos are bad shots. And you would think by this point in his sophomore year, he would learn that, but it hadn't happened. And we haven't even talked about last night's final minute and a half.
Oh no, we'll do that in the next segment. Don't worry, we got plenty. Ironically, here's a name that has not popped up
Billy D
on the board, but I had somebody tell me this in complete seriousness the other night. Brought his name up because he is very possibly going to get fired at Chicago, but I just don't see longtime NBA guys coming back to college. That's just my take on that.
I don't see it. He's made enough money where he probably doesn't have to work. He's going to be, I think, 60 years old this year. His son is involved in coaching in the NBA, and he got out of the game when he was at Florida after he'd won 2 national championships and been to at least 2 other Final Fours because he hated recruiting pre-NIL. I don't see it myself, but you don't know. I mean, I don't think he'll get another chance in the NBA because he's been at Oklahoma City and he's been at the Bulls and really hasn't. He had that one good year with Oklahoma City, but he really hasn't done anything with the Bulls. So,
if that's the case, then does he keep coaching, and look to the college ranks? And if he is, what better place to look than a place that has plug and play system set up?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. He if he wanted to come back to college basketball, coming back to one of the top 10 jobs in the game would be a thing to do. I don't see.
I hate to even talk about this about the possibility, because every time a job has come up in the last 10 years, the first name, Billy Donovan. His wife was in town looking at houses. It's the same old thing over and over. So I was like, God, I don't even want to bring this up. But someone seriously on a call the other day, and I'm like, just like pretty much everything you said. I'm like,
I don't think he wants to do it. That'd be my guess. I haven't talked to Billy since he went to the Bulls. So
would it look like a failure to him?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm looking right now at his record. This is the third straight year he's gotten worse. I mean, he in 2022, his teams won 56% of their games. The next year, 48%. The next year, 47%. And this year, they're down at 39%. He's going to probably get fired because they're not going to make the playoffs. So if he wants to coach, I think it'd be worth Indiana's time to talk to his agent or talk to him to see if he had any interest. But I don't see that he does. I'd be surprised by that. People that I know, you'd have to ask Brockway. He knows him better than I do. I think Brockway said in the past he didn't think he would do it.
Yeah, who knows? Well, I don't know. I don't.
Somebody threw out this name to me today, and I don't think it'll happen, but I think he's got a sneaky good resume. Is not Scott Drew, it's Bryce Drew. And he washed out, I know, at Vanderbilt in his third year there. He went 0-18 in the SEC, and he was out for a year, and then he rebounded and came back to Grand Canyon. But he's been really.
Who was his assistant there? The former Archie assistant. Oh, golly, he was from Indiana.
Tom Ostrom?
No, not that guy. He was a former high school coach, I think, in Indiana. Was there for recruiting and
Jeff
lost
Meyer?
out. No, doggone it.
At Vanderbilt?
No, he was with Archie here and then went to Bryce Drew at Grand Canyon. Oh my goodness.
He was on Archie's initial staff?
Yes. And he missed out on
Ed Schilling?
Fort Wayne. Yes.
Yeah.
Ed Schilling was on his staff. Not sure if he still is or not, but yeah, that name, I've seen it occasionally, but I don't think that he rises up past all of these others. There just seem to be others that are like we just talked about with Brownell or McDermott or Buzz Williams or Ben McCollum or Mick Cronin, TJ. That's a lot of names to get through. I don't know that they get through all of them getting turned down. I just can't imagine that.
You're probably right. Somebody just threw that name out today because we're at the point where there's no information coming out, so people start throwing out names to create information. But I don't think he'll be the choice. I think he does deserve a chance at a higher level job if he wants that. Maybe he's just content now living in Phoenix. He played in the NBA for a while. He's probably set financially, and I think Homer Drew, his dad and his mom both live out in Phoenix too, so they probably got a pretty good thing going.
Yes, not working. That's a great thing going. Aaron from ISC says, has anyone seen the article in BVM Sports, which I have never heard of, but it says IU is eyeing Chris Beard, came out this morning. I would say that's just clickbait.
On what? BBM Sports?
BVM. Yeah, I've never heard of that, but it's just another site, I'm sure. And I would quickly say that is nothing but clickbait. Because if that were the case, BVM is not who is going to break that story. It will be ESPN or FOX or Rick Bozich or somebody of that ilk, but it's not going to be BVM. So that's just clickbait. I've seen so many things that get thrown out, and that's the sad thing, Rick. People can't tell the difference anymore between legit stories and just clickbait sites. I'm not saying they're AI sites, but they're just putting crap out there. And I'm like, dude, and people buy into that stuff. They click on it and read it all. And I'm like, that's exactly what they want you to do. People can say the same about what we do, but I'd like to think that we're a little more in line with reality about what
No, you're right. You have to be discerning about where you get your information and talk to people. I believe most of the people that I talk to that don't lead me wrong, and I find out people that say things that really aren't true. I probably don't go back and talk to them much, but I think we've seen enough in the past from Dolson to know that he doesn't. I doubt if he's even telling anybody at IU what he's doing. I think he's trying to.
He can't. That's the thing.
You can't tell anybody anything.
No, the biggest leak, without question, to me, is the board of trustees. You cannot tell them any damn thing because I promise you that information will come out. I know for a fact.
I would think at this point it's just him and President Whitman, and she might not even know anything yet. It's just him and the search firm. That's it.
He probably has complete trust in him.
These are the qualities that I'm looking for. These are the kind of guys I'm interested in. do a background check on them to the best of your ability to find out if they would really sit down and seriously listen to me. And when it's time, then we're going to dig in and do this. That's where I think it's at. And he can't tell anybody at IU anything because it's just not, people can't keep secrets.
Oh, hell no. Especially this stuff. I mean, oh my gosh, the amount of people that will post I talked to a pretty good friend who's a big time donor, right. And I'm like, buddy, unless this donor is giving 20, 30, 40 million dollars, I don't think very few donors know what's going on.
Well, there have been a lot of people I know on Peaks that have argued back and forth about Brad Stevens. There's one guy I think in particular that wrote that it was already over. The whole thing was done, and he was coming and all that stuff. And wasn't long after that, the Goodman's thing came out. So you're always going to have somebody who talks to somebody, and you're always going to have people that make stuff up because they want to sound like they're in the know.
Oh, absolutely. There was same thing on the Hoosier.com that it was a done deal, and that it was a smokescreen because when they reported it, he just said that Brad Stevens was not a candidate, and that was the quote. The quote was not from him that I'm not a candidate. And I was like, man, you're talking semantics. I'm like, yeah, I guess if you want to break it down like that, that is true. I said, but he's not going to make a statement to go back on it, and he's not leaving the Boston Celtics. And then even after Dusty May was extended, people just kept asking, well, what's the buyout? What's the buyout, though? And I'm like, dude, you don't sign an extension to turn around and leave to go someplace else. That's not going to happen. Although I was surprised that the buyout for Dusty May was not raised more than it was.
I agree. I agree. Maybe they felt like they had enough trust in Dusty May that they didn't have to raise up above that level. But, that we've talked about this, how this should have all been handled last year, and it'd be so much different world, but it wasn't. And so these are the cards they have to play now.
Absolutely. We'll take a quick break. The great Rick Pitino.
Let me go put my white suit on.
I'm telling you, boy, I bet he still has it. In fact, he can still fit into that thing. It's amazing.
He just wore it Saturday.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. When they won, they beat, I think it was Creighton in the Garden to clinch the Big East title. He wore the white suit.
Oh, man. Yeah.
Had Tom George there, and George's wife were courtside for the game.
Oh, wow. Getting all the way back in the memories. Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Rick Bozich, the great Rick Bozich with us. We've got more on the backside from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after this break. Located on 325 acres in beautiful Brown County, Indiana, Hard Truth Distilling Company is the biggest and the best craft distillery around. While Hard Truth is already known for producing internationally awarded whiskeys and spirits like Hard Truth's sour mash bourbons, sweet mash, and hard road ryes, as well as their cinnamon vodka and the always popular toasted coconut rum. Hard Truth Distillery offers so much more. With a full-service restaurant, ATV, and distillery tours, as well as live music, you can spend an entire day at Hard Truth Distillery while making your entire family or group happy. And that's the Hard Truth. Hard Truth products are available across Indiana, as well as many other states. So no matter where you shop, if they don't carry your favorite Hard Truth product, tell them you want the truth, the Hard Truth. Hard Truth Distilling Company encourages you to enjoy all of their products responsibly and to never drink and drive.
If you're looking for a new home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from Brick and Ivy Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl at CherylSizemore@gmail.com or 317-701-0838. That's 317-701-0838. Let Cheryl Sizemore sell or find your new home today.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you.
Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. Andy Moore Honda is Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer for a reason. Buy a new Honda and get a 3-month break from car payments. That's right, no payments for 90 days. That includes the all-new, all-electric Honda Prologue. And you get it for just 0.9% financing. Or the 2024 Honda Ridgeline Black Edition or the Honda Accord LX, both for just 1.9% financing. Get more to your door from AndyMooreHonda.com, Bloomington's #1 Honda dealer and your best place for new and used vehicles. Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios on this Wednesday. Thank you so much for being with us. Rick Bozich from WDRB.com along for the ride, and Indiana looked okay last night. They battled hard, but they let it get away at the end, although there was a pretty good discrepancy in free throws. But there's always a reason you can, get around bad calls, whatever the case may be. You're going to have to deal with that at times on the road, and this was one of those times. But that was a pretty good discrepancy, I will say that.
Yeah, considering Oregon plays a pretty aggressive physical defense, especially in the backcourt. They were out on IU's ball handlers, and the big guy Kittle, not nearly as athletic as Ballo or Renew, and did a fairly good job of bottling them up by bodying them up, and he didn't really get in foul trouble either. So Indiana hurt itself. I don't know what it ended up. They ended up shooting 7 free throws. Is that what it was? I know Indiana, they started out. Yes, Renew missed 2 early, and then he missed the front end of a 1-and-1, and somebody else made 1 out of 2. It wasn't good. And I know Oregon, I think, had 21 points at the line. Is that right? Wasn't it like 21-7?
They were 19 of 21.
19 of 21.
That's pretty damn good shooting as well. 3 of 7.
3 of 7. Bad. So blame yourself for not making free throws, because a couple of those at least were front end of 1-and-1s. But yeah, the officiating could have been better. But after Galloway hit that 3 and they went ahead by 1, that was it. They didn't score again. And, I know that Oregon threw in that 30-footer and did some things, but IU turned it over. And we've seen that happen in the Maryland game. We've seen it happen in the Purdue game up there, where late game, Michigan game at home. I mean, UCLA game, they just don't execute in the final minute or two, and they don't have a guy who's going to go out and just make a play. And that's what you need. And now they're in a situation where I think they need to beat Ohio State on Saturday. If they lose that game, I think they're on the wrong side of the bubble, and then put themselves in a situation where they have to win a game or two in the Big Ten tournament. So they need to win this game against Ohio State. It's a home game. It's a quad 2 game because it's a home game. So they don't have a quad 2 loss all year. They need to beat Ohio State on Saturday.
Oh, I think that they definitely have to beat Ohio State. And I think that they have to win one Big Ten tournament game because they'll be the higher seed. And I think that if they beat Ohio State, but then go to the Big Ten tournament and lose to a lower seed, that equals that last game out and kind of puts them on the wrong side of Bubble City.
Won't they play Oregon probably in the Big Ten tournament again? Is that
if they beat Ohio State? I think that that's exactly how it will play out. But they'll play them on a neutral floor, which should help, and hopefully there will be a different free throw disparity than that.
Right.
And if they're able to get past Oregon, they're in the bracket with Purdue, who they match up well with. Probably should have beaten them twice, but it's probably better for them to work out that way. But we'll see. It'll be interesting. Neutral court games, and it's their destiny's in their own hands. They control everything that happens, ironically. But this, to me, Ohio State loses, they're out of the NCAA tournament here because they're a game under Indiana record-wise. Even though their metrics are better, I don't care. You're not going to get in. They're 17-13.
They go.
Yeah, they
17-14.
pulled one out too last night, a double overtime, 116-114 over Nebraska at home.
Yeah. So Indiana is just, if they want to make the tournament, they have to win on Saturday without question. If they do that, I still think they need to win that first Big Ten tournament game just because it will be against the lower seed. If it was a higher seed, it wouldn't have as much bearing, I don't think.
Well, you want as much cushion as you can anyway, because you get in a situation when you're on the bubble, then you're dependent upon how many upsets there are in the conference tournaments. And like last year, teams like NC State getting into the tournament that wouldn't have gotten in if they hadn't won the ACC tournament. So you want to be as far above the bubble cut line as you can be. And they were comfortable, and they would have been really comfortable if they would have closed that game out last night. But to be up by 1 with a minute and a half or whatever it was to play and lose by 9 is just head shaking.
Well, a lot of that was free throws at the end.
Right. It was, but I don't know. They just don't make the play. Bruiser Flint, the rumor
is he at Arkansas?
He's at Arkansas, but the rumor is he's leaving to go with Jay Lucas at Miami, which I don't know why they want Bruiser Flint. He didn't do anything at IU.
Or Kentucky or Arkansas.
Right.
Cashing the checks, baby.
He wants a guy who's been a head coach to be around. That's a situation that could get a little tense, because I don't know if you've read much about it. The Miami Herald had a story on Monday saying Jay Lucas was expected to be named the coach at Miami next week after they're knocked out of the ACC tournament, and he could leave Duke fairly quickly. And one of the guys he's going to hire is the high school coach at Columbus High School in Miami, who coached the Boozer twins in high school. And there's some speculation that they're going to try and get the Boozer twins to decommit from Duke and go to Miami. If you're Jay Lucas, I'd make sure I had my cars and family out of town before I did that.
They have the money in Miami. I can't remember the guy's name there, but they've kind of fallen off of the pathway since they made that initial run. When NIL was getting started, boy, they jumped in and he brought some players in. I almost said bought, but brought some players in. Nigel Pack, one of those guys that Indiana lost to.
Still there?
I would be if I was him, making the money he was making. I'll tell you that. What is up next for you, my friend?
Louisville plays a game tonight at 9:00 against California. And then Saturday I might be in Bloomington. I might stay here. I haven't decided yet. And then conference tournaments.
You might as well come up. It's the last regular season game of the year.
See who's going to walk on senior day. That'll be Ballo, Galloway, Leal. Will Goody walk?
Oh, absolutely. Because if he doesn't know his status, I would say absolutely, when you already have 2 guys that are doing it that have already done it once to begin with.
Yeah, Langdon Hatton, I guess. Nigel Pack played the first 9 games and has been injured and hadn't played since.
I didn't know he was still playing.
That'll be interesting, because last year senior day was interesting, but hear what Mike Woodson's comments were and the comments from the players. And it comes after the game, so it'll either be a team that might be a little chesty after beating Ohio State, or it'll be a team that, if they lose to Ohio State, should be a little subdued.
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. Make sure you're giving Rick a follow, keeping up with all things going on in college athletics and sports in general at WDRB.com, or give him a follow on Twitter. Appreciate you, my friend, as always.
Right. Have a great week, Jim.
You too, buddy. Hopefully see you Saturday. Big thanks to everybody for joining us on the program today. Another fun one. Back tomorrow to do it again. We'll talk some more basketball. We've got some more football to talk about, as Pro Day happened yesterday for Indiana. And we're getting closer to wrapping up the regular season for not only Indiana, but the rest of the Big Ten. Purdue, they are not going to be able to squeeze up to win a title, but they're going to end the season pretty well. Appreciate you, as always. Until tomorrow, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.